Number of players on the field. All right, let's kick things off with the numbers, because when you put 15 players on a field compared to 13, the difference isn't just in your calculator, it's in the entire vibe of the game. Rugby union fields 15 players per side, which includes 8 forwards and 7 backs. These forwards do the hard yards, crashing into contact, setting up scrums, winning rucks, and basically acting like mobile brick walls. As for the backs, they're the quick-footed masterminds, always looking to exploit space and pull off fancy moves. Now, with all 15 moving around, there's less room to breathe, defences have more coverage, set pieces get crowded, and the contact areas are busier than a Lagos market on a Monday morning. Now, switch over to Rugby League. Only 13 players per team, that's 6 forwards and 7 backs. With 2 fewer players, the field opens up a lot more. That small adjustment means more one-on-one battles, quicker shifts in momentum, and way more running. The league forwards need to be fitter and faster since there's less help coming from the bench and fewer bodies in the line. And the backs have more space to work their magic. You'll see slicker moves, longer passes, and cleaner line breaks. Basically, there's less mud wrestling and more runway. Also, with fewer players in Rugby League, each person has more responsibility. Everyone has to tackle, run, and make decisions. No hiding behind someone else's shadow. It's leaner, meaner, and a lot more unforgiving if someone decides to take a breather. Union might feel like a well-organized military squad, while League feels more like a special ops unit that has to think and move on the fly. It all comes down to how much chaos and structure you like with your rugby fix. Tackles and phases of play. Now, here's where the game starts to split like a banana being peeled. Rugby union treats possession like treasure. As long as you don't drop the ball or get penalised, you can keep playing. One tackle leads to another, then another, and before you know it, you've hit 20 phases and nobody remembers where it all began. Union thrives on these multiple phases. Forwards crash into defenders, backs wait for the right moment to strike, and the ball slowly creeps forward like a determined snail. It's gritty, it's patient, and it's definitely not in a rush. That's why union games often look like chess matches played by bodybuilders. But Rugby League said, nah, we're not doing all that. It hands each team exactly 6 tackles. That's 6 chances to get somewhere or get creative. Once you hit the 6th, you better kick or risk turning the ball over. It's a pressure cooker. You've got to make those 6 moments count. So league teams draw up set plays, move quickly, and go for gaps like there's gold at the other end. It's like every set is a mini attack. Fail to score, and it's goodbye ball, hello defense. This 6 tackle rule forces a totally different mindset. League players don't have time to slowly build pressure with 100 pick and goes. They think fast, move faster, and finish with purpose. Union lets you wear your opponent down with long possessions, while League makes you act before you overthink. And because of this, League often looks sharper, punchier, and more attacking. Union looks smarter, more methodical, and sometimes a little slower. That being said, both approaches bring their own kind of tension. One builds slowly like a horror movie, the other drops the jump scares from the start. Rucks and mauls. Now we're entering the messy zone, the bit where union fans proudly explain laws no one else understands and league fans just shake their heads. In rugby union, every tackle is the start of a war zone. Once a player goes down, both teams race to the breakdown to either secure or steal the ball. And if the tackled player releases it properly and his teammates arrive on time, they can set up a ruck. In a ruck, no hands are allowed. Players compete using only their feet to push opponents off the ball. Sounds simple until you see 10 grown men smashing into each other for a ball you can barely see. And then there's the maul. This happens when the ball carrier is held up but not brought to the ground. Now it's a rolling party of players trying to push forward while staying upright. You'll see giant forwards locking arms and trying to bulldoze their way forward like a slow-moving bus. It's tactical, it's exhausting, and when done well, it's nearly impossible to stop. Mauls are legal weapons in union and often end up being game changers near the try line. Now flip over to rugby league and none of that exists. No rucks, no mauls, just a clean, fast restart after every tackle. Once the defender makes the hit and brings the player down, they must release. The tackled player stands up, rolls the ball back with their foot, and off we go again. It's called play the ball and it takes about 2 seconds. There's no pile up, no boots flying, and no confusion about who has the ball, just pure flow. This one rule completely changes the style of both games, as union thrives on contests at the breakdown while league wants 0 delays and non-stop movement. One rewards power and grit, the other rewards speed and positioning. So if you enjoy trying to figure out what's happening at the bottom of a human sandwich, union's your jam. But if you like seeing what's happening with both eyes open, league's got your back. Scrums and lineouts. Now here's a juicy one. Both games still have scrums, but they're about as similar as a lion and a house cat. In rugby union, scrums are sacred. They happen after a knock-on, forward pass, or other minor infringement. 8 players from each side bind together in 3 rows, and they engage like 2 mountains colliding. The ball is fed in the middle, and both packs try to shove each other back and win a clean ball. Referees take scrums seriously, and so do fans, so when scrums go wrong, you can end up watching the same reset 6 times in a row. It's dramatic, it's powerful, and it's Union's signature chaos. Now jump into rugby league, and scrums are more like organised hugs. Only 6 players per side take part, and there's no contest for the ball. The team feeding it wins it every time. It's basically just a way to restart play and give backs a chance to run a play from set positions. Scrums in league are faster, lighter, and far less significant. Honestly, many fans treat them as a short break in the action. And then there's lineouts, and rugby union loves them. Every time the ball is kicked out or goes into touch, the team that didn't kick it gets to throw it in. Players line up, lifters hoist jumpers into the air, and it becomes an aerial duel for possession. It's athletic, theatrical, and tactical all rolled into one. As for league, well, there are no lineouts. They either restart with a handover, a scrum, or a tap. It's clean and simple. So what's the real takeaway? Union gives us dramatic restarts that feel like chess moves, while league just wants the game back on track. One favours theatre and complexity, the other favours flow and freedom. So if you enjoy watching 30 seconds of brute force before the ball even moves, Union will make you happy. But if you'd rather skip the drama and get back to the action, league is calling your name. Either way, the restart rules set the tone for everything that follows. Kicking and possession. Kicking is where both codes show off just how different their brains are. Rugby union treats the boot like a magic wand. It's used to control space, build pressure, and flip the field. A good fly half in union isn't just someone who can pass and run, they also need to kick with brains and precision. Union teams will often kick for touch when they get a penalty, setting up a line out deep in enemy territory. Other times they kick high into the air, chasing it like hungry wolves, hoping for a fumble or a lucky bounce. Drop goals in union are also more common, especially when the score is tight. A sneaky 3 points can make all the difference in a grinded out match. And then there's the box kick, usually sent up by the scrum half. It's used to push defenders back or regain possession when running options are limited. Every kick in union comes with a plan, or at least a desperate hope that the plan works. Rugby league doesn't kick as often, but when it does, it's usually for a reason that's easy to understand. After the 5th tackle, teams almost always kick on the 6th. This is done to avoid handing over possession deep in their own half and to try and pin the opposition back. It's simple and practical. Kick to gain ground, kick to restart from a safe place, and kick to score on a lucky bounce. However, you won't see a lot of flare kicks or risky plays unless the game is tight or the team is feeling bold. And in league, drop goals only give you a single point. They're almost never used unless it's the final few minutes and someone needs a tiebreaker. Possession matters, but it's not everything. Kicking in league serves the flow of the game, not the drama. Union uses kicking like chess pieces, while league kicks to keep the game rolling. Field size and time. While most people won't notice this with the naked eye, the size of the playing field does affect how the game feels. Rugby union fields are generally wider and a bit longer. They stretch out to around 100 metres in length, not counting the in-goal areas, which can add even more distance. The width usually reaches about 70 metres, and these extra metres give players more space to spread out and set up elaborate moves, especially when they're attacking off a line-out or looking to stretch the defence. It also makes union feel a bit more spacious during slower phases of play. Rugby league fields are slightly narrower and more compact. The field is 68 metres wide, and while the length is also about 100 metres, the in-goal areas are usually smaller. This tighter space changes how players move and position themselves. It creates faster collisions and forces quicker reactions. There's less time to think and more time to run, and league uses this to its advantage, making sure that the pace stays high and that every metre gained feels like a win. Now, both games run for 80 minutes, split into 2 40-minute halves with a break in the middle, but the flow of those minutes couldn't feel more different. Rugby league clocks rarely stop for long, which means the match moves fast. You blink and the half is nearly over. Union has more natural pauses. Scrums, lineouts, injury checks, and even referee debates can stretch the clock way beyond 80 minutes of actual play. That being said, union games feel heavier and longer, not because the players are slow, but because the structure allows more stop-start moments. League feels like a roller coaster, while union feels like climbing a mountain trail that suddenly turns into a dance floor. Both have their charm, but if you want a quick hit of rugby action, league is your best bet. If you want depth, tension, and twists, then union delivers with every whistle. Substitutions and fatigue. Let's not sugarcoat it. Rugby is exhausting. It doesn't matter if it's union or league, both versions will leave you gasping, cramping, and questioning your life choices by the 60th minute. But how each code handles substitutions can make all the difference between a match-winning sprint and someone crawling around like their legs are made of bricks. In rugby league, each team is allowed 8 interchanges during a match, but that doesn't mean 8 different players. It means 8 total switches. A player can come off for a break and then go back in later, kind of like tag teaming in a wrestling match. It's a system that keeps the energy high and lets coaches manage fatigue like chess pieces made of muscle and tape. Now, rugby union, being the more traditional and occasionally stubborn sibling, doesn't offer that kind of flexibility. You get 8 substitutions, but once a player is off, they usually stay off for good. The only exceptions are for blood injuries or head assessments, which are temporary unless something serious is found. This puts a lot more pressure on union players to pace themselves smartly. You can't just sprint every carry and then hop off for a breather. You've got to ration your energy like water in the desert. That's why in the final 15 minutes of a union game, you start seeing players look like they're dragging invisible tires behind them. This substitution difference shapes how each game feels from the stands too. League stays turbocharged from start to finish, while union often builds slowly with a late game push if the tired bodies can still move. In short, league gives players breathing room, while union hands them a whistle and says good luck. So if you've ever seen a prop chasing a winger in Minute 78, you'll understand what true fatigue looks like. Professional popularity and culture. Now let's step away from the field and look at who's actually watching. Rugby union has the bigger passport. It's played and followed in far more countries, and it pulls in crowds from every corner of the planet. Whether it's the booming stadiums of England's Premiership, the fierce rivalries of France's top 14, or the roaring haka moments from the All Blacks in New Zealand, union carries itself with global swagger. It has tournaments that even non-rugby fans know by name. The Rugby World Cup brings in millions of viewers and enough passion to melt TV antennas. Then there's the Six Nations, which basically shuts down Northern Europe every February and March. Add in the Rugby Championship in the Southern Hemisphere, and you've got a sport that runs the world like it owns a frequent flyer card. But here comes Rugby League. Less global, more local, but absolutely beloved where it matters. League owns the hearts of fans in Australia, especially in places like New South Wales and Queensland. The NRL isn't just a competition, it's a weekly ritual. People plan their lives around it. And in England, places like Wigan, Leeds and St Helens treat Rugby League like it's a sacred tradition. The league might not have the global flash of union, but it delivers raw emotion, deep rivalries and packed stands. You also can't forget Papua New Guinea, where rugby league isn't just popular, it's the national obsession. Union tends to attract a more traditional and sometimes polished crowd. I'm talking about suits, scarves and polite clapping between roars, whereas league is more blue collar with louder crowds, tougher stadiums and chants that come from the gut. One has champagne in the VIP section, the other has a beer in every hand, but both bring energy, pride and generations of passion. So whether you're into the jet-setting circus of union or the gritty heartbeat of league, the culture runs deep and the loyalty runs even deeper. Playstyles and game strategy. This is where the personality of each sport really shows. Rugby union is all about patience, physicality, and strategic territory. It's a game where forwards smash into each other like they're fighting over the last slice of pizza, while backs wait for the right moment to explode into space. Union teams spend long stretches grinding through phases. They push with mauls, crash through rucks, and wait for the defense to blink. Then they pounce. You'll see kicks to the corner, lineouts followed by rolling mauls, and penalty goals that slowly build a lead. It's a test of endurance, strength, and smart decision-making. It's chess, but everyone's sweating buckets and occasionally bleeding. On the other hand, rugby league doesn't like waiting. It wants results, and it wants them now. With only 6 tackles before possession changes, teams in league have to be direct, fast, and ruthless. The game flows in quick sets. A few hit-ups through the middle, then a slick pass to the backs, and finally a well-placed kick to finish the set. If that doesn't work, the other team gets the ball and it starts again. League is built on rhythm, structure, and speed. You won't see 20 rucks in a row. You'll see precision passes, fast footwork, and clever plays from the halfback. The style also changes how players train and what they bring to the game. Union forwards are often bigger, heavier, and used to scrums and ruck battles. League forwards are leaner, more mobile, and ready to make 40 tackles a game without blinking. Union backs deal with pressure kicks, broken play, and tactical kicking. League backs are all about acceleration, agility, and catching high bombs under pressure. The way teams defend also differs. Union uses a drift or blitz defense with lots of breakdown focus. League forms flat lines, retreats 10 meters after every tackle, and trusts one-on-one tackles to stop progress. Simply put, Union wants to wear you down, frustrate you, and take its moment. League wants to hit you hard, race past you, and score before you blink. Both styles are brutal, beautiful, and built on controlled chaos. It just depends whether you like your chaos with side dishes or served straight from the pan. Refereeing and rules interpretation. When it comes to refereeing, Rugby Union and Rugby League are like two cousins who grew up in very different households. In Union, the referee doesn't just control the game, he practically becomes part of the conversation. Players get long lectures, hand gestures that look like dance moves, and regular reminders about what not to do. Whether it's a collapsed scrum, a high tackle, or someone sneaking offside by a shoelace, the whistle comes out fast and often. Union refs are all about maintaining structure and safety, which sounds great, but sometimes the game turns into a stop-start traffic jam where nobody can find the accelerator. Rugby League refs, on the other hand, run a much tighter ship. They let the game flow more, and the rules are built to make that easier. There are fewer grey areas and way less technical fouling. The 6-tackle rule already forces teams to play clean and quick, so there's less need for repeated stoppages or drawn-out explanations. Sin bins still exist in both sports, and dangerous tackles are punished, but league refs tend to blow the whistle and move on. Some say Union has too much ref drama, others say league refs ignore too much. Either way, both carry the power to flip a game with one sharp tweet of the whistle. International and club seasons. Now let's talk schedules, or as rugby players call it, the never-ending meat grinder. Rugby Union has a calendar so packed even Santa would struggle to keep up. Most top-level players start their year in domestic club competitions like England's Premiership or France's Top 14. Then, if they're good enough, they get called up for the Six Nations, the Rugby Championship, or summer tours. By the end of the year, they've also played autumn internationals or maybe even the Rugby World Cup. It's a constant blend of club and country with barely enough time to rest, let alone recover, but it brings global attention and plenty of prestige. Rugby League keeps things more focused. The NRL runs for most of the year and dominates the scene in Australia. It's fast, physical, and full of massive rivalries. Then there's the State of Origin series, which turns Australia into one big shouting match between Queensland and New South Wales. Internationally, League has a few marquee events like the Rugby League World Cup and Four Nations, but they don't happen as often. Club play stays the main event. Union leans into patriotism and pageantry. League rides the wave of local passion and bragging rights. Either way, fans get a wild ride and players need ice baths on standby. Player paychecks. Who's earning more? Let's be honest, everyone loves the game, but money still talks. And in the world of rugby, who earns what depends heavily on which code you play and where you play it. Rugby Union, being the more global and heavily sponsored version, often flashes the bigger contracts, especially at the international level. Top-tier Union players in England, France, or Japan can make serious money. We're talking 6 figures easily, and in some cases, well into the millions per year when you add in club salary, national team bonuses, and private sponsorships. Big names like Antoine Dupont, Owen Farrell, and Bowden Barrett aren't just stars, they're walking banks with rugby boots. Now, Rugby League, the paychecks can still be juicy, but the pool is smaller. League is more regional, with the bulk of the cash centred in Australia's NRL and England's Super League. The top earners in the NRL can make between $800,000 to over $1 million per season, which is solid, especially considering the shorter international calendar. But beyond that top layer, league salaries drop off quicker than unions. Mid-tier union players across Europe can still make a comfortable living. In league, if you're not in the starting side of a strong NRL team, the paycheck might not stretch as far. Union also has the benefit of more nations investing in the sport at both club and international levels. League doesn't have the same global spread, which limits earning opportunities for players outside the main hotspots. But League does offer bonuses, marquee player status, and extra cash through endorsements for the top dogs. Still, if you purely follow the money, Rugby Union is where the bigger bags live. League delivers passion and consistency, but Union gives you more zeros on your contract if you play your cards right. Tournament prize money and big stage payouts. Now let's dive into the real treasure chests, the prize money. This is where Union shows off its global reach and deeper pockets. The Rugby World Cup is the crown jewel of Rugby Union, and it pulls in serious cash. The 2023 edition generated over $1 billion in revenue, and while not all of that goes into players' hands, the winners still cash out nicely. South Africa, for example, took home millions as a team, and individual players received generous bonuses from both their national board and sponsors. Add in extra earnings from jersey deals, match fees, and post-tournament appearances, and top Union players walk away with more than just a medal and a hangover. Rugby League's biggest international stage is the Rugby League World Cup, which doesn't draw nearly the same level of money. The prize money is modest in comparison, often underwhelming for a global event. In 2021, for instance, teams got prize pools that barely scratched Union's surface, but where League makes up for it is in domestic tournaments. The NRL Grand Final comes with significant rewards, with winning teams collecting up to $400,000 in prize money, which is then divided among players and staff. Still, that's less than what a Union team might collect from just one test series in Europe. Or Union also has club-level tournaments with impressive payouts. The Heineken Champions Cup, for example, offers over $20 million in total prize money, with the winners taking home a solid chunk. Compare that to Super League or even the Challenge Cup in League, and Union is clearly operating on a fatter wallet. League's prize money is strong in Australia, but doesn't hit the same global highs. If you enjoyed this, there's plenty more rugby videos in the works. I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.